1. Use a gaming mouse plus my favorite one. The mouse that I use is a Logitech G300S. This mouse has a lot of extra buttons and you can assign a key to each one. Why is this useful? For example, my razor shortcut here is on B, so I can give a cut by just pressing B on my keyboard. The mouse has free Logitech gaming software. It's set on Dutch here, but I will explain. For example, if I set this mouse button here on the key B, it's gonna function as the B key as well. This mouse is an old model and probably difficult available, so I'm gonna put a Logitech alternative one that works with the same principle in the video description. 2. Use text templates. Thanks to templates, you don't need to animate anymore. Most video editing software comes with a lot of built-in templates. Just drag and drop one, maybe change some settings, and everything is ready. 3. Clip and track colors. This here is a vlog, and by using colors I can easily find back my scenes. In the yellows I'm outside, and the green clips are about fixing my damaged shoe. Just select the clips and change the colors like this. You can also change the color of a track. For example, audio track 4 and 5 are my voice here, the rest are other sounds. So to distinguish, I already gave my voice clips a yellow color. To give the track the same color, just right click on track, change color to, and select one. Do this for each track. 4. Video and audio synchronization. Okay, so here I recorded with 2 cameras at the same time. This is my main camera that has camera sound, and the orange is my webcam with a pro mic sound. You can use these waveforms to match the 2 clips in time, like here. This is called audio synchronization. Just drag the second camera upwards, select the 2 clips together with audio, right click, auto align clips and make sure it's on waveform. Then it's automatically going to match it in time. This works in almost all cases. Afterwards you can just delete the worst audio. 5. Use B-roll footage on B tracks. On this track, for example, is me speaking about YouTube. I have screen recordings on top of it that show what I'm talking about. In film terms, video track 1 is the A-roll, and video track 2 is the B-roll. When I first started editing, my footage looked like this. But when editing, it's a good idea to make your A-roll on one video track, and place your B-roll footage on a new track. With 2 video tracks, you can easily decide to disable or enable every B-roll clip, and your A-roll clip will still be there as a backup. Useful for when you or a client doesn't like a B-roll clip. In DaVinci Resolve you can click the shortcut D or right click, check or uncheck enable clip. And you can also disable the whole track of course. 6. Avoid lag with proxy media on old computers or for heavy files. Navigating through high resolution files often leads to lag. To avoid this, you can use proxy media for flawless playing or navigating. Proxy media is a copy of your footage, but in a smaller resolution, and this is only used for the preview window. So when using proxies, you keep on editing your original files, but with a smaller alternative file shown in the viewport. Proxies need to be generated. I'll show you how to do this in DaVinci Resolve. First go to Settings, and here you can choose which resolution you want it to be in the viewport. I go for quarter, so it will be a quarter of the original resolution. In Proxy Generation Location, you can choose the destination folder for the proxies. If you had any changes, click Save. So now to generate, select your files here, right-click, Generate Proxy Media. Now it can take some time to generate. When it's done, make sure that in Playback Proxy Handling, Prefer Proxies is checked. Now in the viewport you see your files with a quarter of the original resolution. Flawless. I did it for full HD footage here, but especially for 4K or 8K footage, it's recommended to make proxies when it's laggy while playing. Your proxies are stored on your computer and they take a lot of space. You can find them back in the map that you set it on. Here you can see that the file size of proxies is pretty big. So once your edit is made, you can choose to delete them without any problems. And don't forget to remove them out of your recycle bin as well to free up space. Bonus: if you don't want to generate, you can also choose timeline, playback resolution, half or quarter. This helps a little bit as well, but proxies are best for heavy lag. 7. Make selections first, filter out bad parts. Okay, so before I edit, I place all useful clips on a higher video track like here. Tip: with Alt plus arrow up, you can do this as well, instead of dragging. So once I'm ready, I select all useful clips and copy them to another timeline. With the shortcut H, I can delete the gaps. You can check here on which shortcut it is set for you, or customize it here. And now I can start editing with only useful clips left. 8. Pancake timelines. This is a sequel tip of the previous one. You can open two timelines at the same time. An advantage of this is that you can drag your selections to your edit timeline. I'll show you how to do this. Check Display Stacked Timelines to see all the open timelines. So start with only this timeline open. Now when you click on this icon on the right, you can see that it opens a new timeline. Here you can select your edit timeline, for example. Now you can easily drag a clip from one timeline to another. It's the same clip, it's just less zoomed in on the timeline. So like this, you can start editing. Tip: when you want to be sure if a clip is already used, before dragging it to the edit page, you can give it a color. When you want to close it, click this icon. 9. Use plugins. Includes Dehancer publicity. I only use one plugin, which is Dehancer. Currently you can download and try a free test version. I went from this without Dehancer to this with Dehancer, or from this to this. Once installed, you can find Dehancer in effects, and with all these extra functions you can enhance your color grading. I can for example get rid of this brown background color. Or another example, the plugin also contains a lot of film looks. If you'd like to buy it, you can buy it for lifetime for your preferred software. You get 10% off with TIM20. There's also an option to get a package with monthly or annually payment. The promo code TIM20 also works for these packages, and here you can check what is included. There's also a lot of extras, for example a mobile video editor for iPhone and iPad with the same effects as the desktop plugin. If you choose for this type of payment, choose a photo and video pack if you'd like to have Dehancer for video editing software. This includes Dehancer for all video editing software and photo software on top of it. Also, to avoid any confusion, sometimes Dehancer updates their plans, and the promo code usually stays valid. The light version and separate effects that you see here are currently not available for purchase as they are in the bigger packages. If you're wondering why there's only checked one in my video plugins, that is because Dehancer comes with two installers, and the version that is compatible with your computer needs to be used. 10. Use power grades, DaVinci Resolve. I often record myself for videos. The color grading looks like this with this node tree. I'm going to share how you can apply this exact same node tree to another clip in another project. Toggle on gallery, right click here, grab still. Now the node tree is saved on project basis. However, if you drag it to a power bin, you can fall back on this node tree in every project. This here, for example, is another clip of me talking in another project. The power grade is here and I can right click, apply grade. Or drag and drop will also work. Now I can easily adjust each node to my favor, starting from the power grade node tree. Extra tip, you can make multiple power albums. 11. Share power grades with others. I'm gonna show you how you can export a power grade to your computer. Right click here, export, and a DRX file will contain the whole node tree. Once you've saved it somewhere, you can call it with import. 12. Generate LUTs. You can find your LUTs here. While power grades are only supported by DaVinci Resolve, LUTs are more universal. The only difference from a power grade, the node tree disappears, but it's supported by other editing software as well. And I'm gonna show you how to create your own LUTs. First, check where the LUTs are located on your computer. Copy this path. Now we are going to create a new LUT of this grading. Right click here, generate LUT, and a 65.cube file will have the best quality. Now we'll store it in our LUT folder, so paste the path that you copied. Here I'm going to create a new folder named Custom LUTs. And I will place the LUT with the name in this folder. Now it updates automatically. If it doesn't, right click here and click refresh. Now you created a LUT. So if you drag and drop this, you will see all the adjustments with only one node. 13. Trim edit mode. Let's say we want to trim a clip on the left and on the right. When you trim it, it leaves gaps. This problem is solved if you enable the trim edit mode here. Same principle, no gaps. 14. Trim start and trim end shortcut. You can also immediately close the gaps with shortcuts. Here in keyboard customization, search for trim start. You can assign a key to this function. For me, it's the caret key. Now search for trim end and also assign a key to this. I use the dollar key. So when I press caret with the clip selected, the left part is going to be trimmed off. With dollar, the same but for the right part. But now there are still gaps. Well, if you double press the caret key without the clip selected, the gap is going to be closed automatically. Same for double pressing the dollar key. I use this method all the time. 15. Export as project file, DaVinci Resolve. Software like Premiere Pro works with project files, like these. While in DaVinci Resolve, your projects are at the home page. Here, your project is not a single file on your computer, but rather data that DaVinci Resolve can read. With this function here, you can export to a DaVinci Resolve project file. Just save it somewhere, and once it is saved, your file looks like this. To open it, you can double-click or drag it to the home page. You can also export the project file from the home page. Extra tip, you can use this method to make backups of your DaVinci Resolve projects. 16. Music first. This is a simple tip, but when editing, it's a good idea to add your music track first, and then it will be more easy to place cuts on the beat. These beats will make your cuts feel more logic, like in this example. 17. Finding good music. Includes Uppbeat publicity. As a designer and video editor, I know how challenging it is to find great music or sound effects. This is where Uppbeat can help you. This is a site that offers music, sound effects, but also motion graphics and LUTs. I will put a link to this platform in the video description so that you can explore their products. I'll guide you through the plans. Once you have an account, you get access to 3 free downloads, and this is topped up by 1 each month. Some items are premium, so not all items are included in this plan. With the Essentials plan, you already get unlimited access to all songs and sound effects. And with Creator, also the motion graphics and LUTs are included. And for power creators and businesses, there's also a Pro plan. Each plan has an option of monthly or yearly payment. And since you can start for free, it's definitely worth making an account. 18. Smart Render Cache. If you have fusion clips or color graded clips, it can lag while playing. This here is a title template that is made with Fusion. If you enable your render cache, it's gonna remember the calculations after that it's played. I'll show you. You can choose here between Smart and User. Smart is automatically going to decide when cache needs to be made. Let's put it on that. Now you see a red line, meaning that there are no cache clips. When I press play, it's gonna notice that it's heavy to play. So for the blue parts, cache clips are made. So if you replay it a few times, you can see that there's more and more cache. And you can see that on the blue parts, playback eventually runs flawless. Also for clips with a lot of color grading, cache should be made. Here we have an example. A clip that has color grading with some nodes. So with the cache still on Smart, let's test if cache will be generated. It's laggy, but no cache is generated. You can also manually control which clips need cache. So this is where tip 19 comes in. 19. User Render Cache. This is a sequel tip of tip 18. So with your render cache on User, you can customly decide for which clip you want to create cache files. For example, I want this color graded clip to make cache clips for me. Then I right click on the clip and check render cache color output for this clip. Now when I play, you can see that there is cache. When you have multiple clips, you need to enable the render cache color output for every clip that you want to have cache for. The same goes for Fusion clips. With the render cache still on user, let's delete this one and add a new one that still has no cache. So if you place the render cache Fusion output here on on, it's always going to create render cache for this clip. This also works for each clip separately. 20. Delete and manage render cache. This frees up a lot of space. Render cache takes a lot of space. So in Playback, delete render cache all. You can clean it up without any problems. You can click delete. A more custom way to do it is to go to Manage Render Cache. Here you can see all my projects and how many cache each has. This project is named cache, and as I generated some cache clips to show you, they already take more than 4 GB. So I'm going to clear it. 21. Create playback loops. I'm gonna learn you how to create a loop like this. Press I on your keyboard for the start point and O for the out point. Now just click on this icon. And there you go. 22. Add markers. You can add markers on the timeline by pressing M on your keyboard. Here you can give it a title and also a caption. You can also add markers on clip level by pressing M with the clip selected. For example, to provide your team with some information if you work in one. 23. Add Foley to sound. For this tip, I'm going to share a short fragment of one of my short films.
Oh, fuck! Shit!
Okay, so all sounds in this video are recorded afterwards. I would be surprised if you noticed. Recording sound afterwards gives the advantage that you can record sounds from very close without the microphone in the frame. This method gives the best audio quality and is named Foley. Also, if you're wondering with which mic these audio files are recorded.
Oh, fuck! Shit!
I use a Rode NTG4 Plus together with a windshield. It needs to be connected to an audio recorder with an XLR cable, for which I use the Zoom H5. 24. Audio buses. Here the yellow audio tracks are my voice and the green audio tracks are Foley sounds. In Fairlight, you can level the volume of each track. Let's extend so that everything is visible. So with a slider you can adjust the volume. Wouldn't it be nice if you can level the volume of all yellow tracks, for example, with one slider? Well, you can assign multiple tracks to a bus, and with this method that's possible. I'll show you how to add tracks to a bus in DaVinci Resolve. Go to Fairlight, Bus Format. Bus 1 is our total mix, so with this slider here, you can adjust the volume of everything together. So let's name it Total Mix for clarity. Now let's add a new bus named Voice, and you can give this bus the same color as your voice tracks. So do the same for Foley, and give this a green color. Now we have 3 buses, you can find them here. Let's stretch it out again to see everything. When you scroll down now, you can see that each track is still directly connected to the total mix. We want the green audio tracks to pass by the Foley bus first, and the yellows to the voice. So connect them like this. Now the green tracks are connected to the Foley bus and the yellow tracks to the voice bus. To make it complete, place the bus output of bus 2 and 3 on the total mix. Now if you adjust the slider, for example, the volume of the 2 voice tracks will change together. Same for the Foley bus slider. This method is a little bit of work, but for big projects it's definitely time winning. 25. Use loops. Endlessly animated text. If you make an animation in Fusion, you can endlessly loop that animation like here. I am going to show you how. So first, let's create an effect. Search for text plus and drag it to the timeline. I'm gonna name it Wasp here and already position it. Now we will create an animation that we can loop eventually. Go to Fusion. It doesn't matter how many frames you see, just go to the first frame. And here in Inspector Transform, let's create a small animation. Let's animate it on line level. So let's add a keyframe on the first frame. Now a few frames further, let's make the value -360. Press enter and also a new keyframe will be added. Now we have this here. It turns 1 time. Now to loop this, or maybe another animation that you made, go to Spline. Everything that has keyframes will have the option to check, so check this. Click this icon to make the keyframes perfectly fit in the frame. Now select the keyframes, right-click, set loop, and you have different kind of loops. If you set it on relative, then it's endlessly going to animate. Let's check the animation. Now I'll go back to the edit page. So no matter how long you extend the text clip, the animation is still going to be there. 26. Save and load Fusion nodes. In the previous step, we created a loop on this node here. So this node includes the text and the animation. You can save nodes and call them back in other projects. So right click on the node, settings, and here you can choose Save As. This way you can save the node. In this folder I already saved some nodes, but it doesn't matter where you save it. For this one I'm gonna create a new folder in my documents. So let's create a new one named Save and Load Nodes. Let's give the animation a clear name, endless rotating, and save. Now if we go to another project, you can call back that node. So here drag a new text plus, give it a name, position it. And from here we'll add the same node that we made in the previous step. Let's see what happens. So in Fusion there is no animation yet. On this template node, right click, settings, and there you can choose load. So I saved it in my documents and I just need to open this one. Now if you play it, you can see that it endlessly rotates, but the text changed as well, as it's included in this node. So that's the only thing that you'll need to adjust. Also in settings, you can see that you can select the saved node as well, without having to go through your folders. So in the edit page, you can change the title, and then everything is ready. 27. Integrate AI OpenArt. The thumbnail for this video, for example, is made with OpenArt, which is linked in the video description. I only adjusted it to this version in Photoshop. OpenArt is a platform where you can create images, video, and audio. If we go to Image, Create Image, you can see here my image generation history. What is cool about OpenArt is that you can choose between different models and settings when you generate. So this here is made with Nano Banana, and the text prompt was generate me a thumbnail for 50 video editing tips. Here I chose the model. Meanwhile there's a pro version of Nano Banana as well, but I did it with a normal version. Here you can enter the prompt. And here you can choose your aspect ratio, which is 16:9 for a thumbnail. And then I want to generate only one image, so put it on 1. Now you can see that OpenArt works with credits, like every other AI platform. Depending on the model, the amount of credits that it takes varies. With the Essential plan, you already get 4000 credits a month. Also consider to check the other plans and choose what fits you the best. Currently, if you make a new account, you start with a few credits that you can use for testing. If you go to video, for example, the amount of credits that a model takes is already a lot more. You can use models like Kling 2.5, Sora 2, and VEO 3. The better the model is considered and the longer a video is, the more credits it's going to take. 28. Dynamic project switching. Let's say you have a project open and you want to switch to another project, but you want to leave your current project open as well. Then, at the home page, right-click and select Dynamic Project Switching. Now you can see that it's checked. When you open a project now, it's going to leave the other one open, and you can easily switch between multiple projects. To turn this off, just uncheck Dynamic Project Switching. 29. Audio compression instead of manual bypassing. This here is one of my tutorials, with a voiceover on this track. If we zoom in, let's play this clip here. Now choose a font that has enough thickness. The word now is a little bit louder than the other parts in the clips. If you want to adjust this, you can for example place a cut and bring the volume down. Let's listen. Now choose a font that has enough thickness. It sounds good, but if you want to do this for every clip, it's a lot of work. This is where you can use audio compression. I'll go to Fairlight. Here you can see in the decibel meters. Now choose a font that has enough thickness. That word now is on -2 decibel. Let's play it again. Now choose a font that has enough. So the peak was on -2 decibel. Here you can see the dynamics in this track. If you don't see it, just scroll down. If we double click, we can see a menu where we can compress. So if you enable compressor, you see a blue line. And the only thing that we are going to adjust now is the threshold. To exaggerate, I'm going to place it around minus 20 decibel, minus 90.8. So with this setting, no sound will come above something around minus 10 decibel. And everything that sounds louder than minus 19.8 decibel will be compressed and reduced towards lower levels. Let's listen. Now choose a font that has enough thickness. So now the volume is rather monotone. Now choose a font that has enough thickness. To have a little bit more dynamic, it's recommended to place a threshold between minus 6 decibel and minus 10 decibel, I would say. But it is your choice. Now choose a font that has enough thickness. Now the effect is barely noticeable. Eventually, you'll need to search a number that you're content with. Also, an extra important tip, if you change the ratio like this, your voice will become even more monotone. 30. Clip selections. With Ctrl+A you can select everything on the timeline. With Alt+Y you can select everything to the right of the timeline indicator. With Ctrl+Alt+Y you can select everything to the left of the timeline indicator. For example, when you want to delete this clip, you can use Alt+Y and then move the selection to the left. 31. Slow motion. This here is a timeline of 25 frames per second, for example. If you want to add a slow motion of 0.5 speed, then you'll need a clip of 50 frames per second, because the clip will double its length, and that needs double the amount of frames. So here, this one is recorded in 50 FPS. If we just drag it to the timeline, it will still have its normal speed. So let's add markers to show the length of the clip, and delete the clip from the timeline. If you right-click on the clip, in Clip Attributes, you can see that the frame rate is 50 FPS. If you set it on 25 FPS, then the clip is going to be in slow motion. So if you drag the clip to the timeline now, you can see that it has doubled its length. And if you play it, you can notice that it's in slow motion. 32. Remove wind from audio recordings. Okay, so this here is an audio clip. There is a little bit of wind present. Let's listen. Especially in the parts with a lower volume, the wind is a little bit more present. I'll play it here. Put your volume high enough to hear it. Okay, so we're going to remove the wind. Wind is usually a low frequency, and birds are at a high frequency, so we can easily distinguish them. Here in EQ, you can toggle on band 1, and this is going to place a low cut. The low frequencies are cut off. To give this low cut more effect, you can drag band 1 to the right. Let's listen now. You can adjust while listening. So you can hear that the wind disappears. What many editors do is boost higher frequencies like this. With this method, these frequencies will be more present. Let's listen again. Okay, so removing wind is only possible when the other sounds are in a lower frequency than the wind itself. But in this case, we can change the track title to audio without wind. 33. Optimize voices with EQ. I'm going to give some tips to make your voice better with EQ. So this is my voice here. You can see here that you created a loop. In tip 29, I learned EQ compression, so that's already toggled on here. What's also enabled is an EQ. You got more information about this in tip 32. So what I did was place a low cut. Almost every professional video editor does this, to filter out the heavy sounds out of your voice. In most voices, the low cut needs to be around 120 decibel. What many people do as well is bring these frequencies upwards. So with equalizer, you can see here that you created a loop. And without equalizer, you can see here that you created a loop. You almost hear no difference. So it doesn't affect your voice a lot. But if you exaggerate, you will hear that it's going to sound like an old radio. You can see here that you created a loop. So the trick is to place a low cut on a point where you just don't hear the effect. For most voices, this is around 120 decibel. Bonus: if you want to have this exact same EQ effect on all of your voices in different projects, you can create a preset of this. So let's name this voice_Tim, and you can find it in the list. 34. Add fades to interrupted sentences or words. Sometimes it happens that you have a voiceover, but you only need one part of the sentence, or even one part of a word. I'll give an example. You can see that the mapping level is on characters. Okay, so here I recorded characters, but it needs to be character. So I'm going to give a trick what you can do when you need to cut in a voiceover. Characters. First, let's cut off the S. Let's listen. Is on characters. Now the sentence stops very abrupt. Is on characters. And that's almost always the case when you make cuts like this. So to make it look like a sentence is at its end, you can just add a fade out. And then it will sound like it naturally stopped. Is on character. Eventually, you'll need to adjust it until it's perfect. Is on character. In DaVinci Resolve, there's also a button here with which you can add a curve to your fade out. But honestly, linear is perfect in this case. 35. Close other timelines. If you have many timelines open and you only want to have one visible, you can right-click, close all other timelines. 36. Open file location after export. After you export it, you don't need to go and search in your folders where you placed it, but you can right-click Open File Location. 37. Make a song longer than it actually is. Okay, so you don't need to be a music expert to make songs longer, and you can even do this in your editing software. So here we have a song from Uppbeat. What you need to do first is search for two identical or almost identical parts. For most instrumental songs, this is almost always possible. And I placed two markers on this song. On these places the rhythm is almost identical. At the start we have this rhythm. And here where I placed the second marker, the sound is almost identical. So duplicate the clip with Alt and Drag, and what you can do is look where it matches. And at this point you can overlap it. Here you can see that it has the same structure. It's not exactly on the same point, but this shift is so little that it won't be noticeable. Let's listen. You still hear that there is a cut. Eventually you will need to place this cut on a part where it sounds the most hidden. Like this, no one will notice that you've lengthened the song. On this place, I don't feel the cut anymore. The next two tips are two out of a previous video with a very enthusiastic voiceover, so I will just insert those two in here. 38. Using serial notes. This is a note. On a note you can bring color grading adjustments. You can give the note a name. I will show you soon how to do that. Let's name this the original. You can create another serial note with right mouse click, add note, add serial. On this you can bring adjustments as well. Let's adapt a curve on this note. You can create as many serial notes as you'd like. Let's adjust the warper on this one. Serial notes are useful because you can disable and enable each one of them. This is the original. You can check what the curve does, and you can check what the warper does. There are three important functions that you can give a shortcut. Go to DaVinci Resolve, Keyboard Customization, and search for Notes. Open the Notes menu. Here you can define shortcuts for all functions. I use Alt-S or S to add a serial note. Ctrl-D or D to disable or enable notes, and the shortcut E to label or name the note. You can define your preferred shortcut by clicking on the plus to add an extra shortcut, or by clicking on the little cross to replace the shortcut, and then hitting that shortcut on your keyboard. And don't forget to save. 39. Correct white balance using scopes. Here we have a clip where the white balance is too green. Let's correct it on this note. First, I'm going to give some technical explanation. Go to the color wheels. Make sure that the display qualifier focus is enabled. If you hover on the image, you can see that the colors are indicated in the scopes. These white parts are always on top in the scopes, and the dark parts are always lower in the scopes. Let's take a look at the white wall as a reference. You can see in the scopes where it's located. On a pure white, the colors red, green and blue have the same height. We can see in the scopes that green peaks a little higher than blue and red here. This wants to say that the white balance is too green. We need to make sure that this green here is at the same height as the reds and blues. We can correct the global white balance here in the offset. Because it's too green, we need to drag it towards the opposite color of green. You can see in the scopes that the reds, greens and blues are equal now on the white wall, meaning that the white balance is correct. Bonus tip. If you can't use the display qualifier focus after enabling it, go to another tab, like the curves or color warper for example, and try it there. 40. Use alpha channels. With alpha channels you can create really cool things. I'm going to learn you how you can create something like this, or like this. Okay, so this is the starting position. On video track 1 we just have some text, with enters between the lines. And on video track 2 we have a PNG image of a woman with a transparent background. So we are going to create an alpha channel of the text. Here in settings, you can change the composite mode to alpha. Now you're going to use the woman as a foreground. So here in settings, change the composite mode to foreground. And that's as simple as it is. You can also switch the alpha and the foreground. So let's place the text on foreground and the woman on alpha. Now switch the two tracks and you have this. This track looks the coolest with a bold font and lines close to each other. You can adjust the line spacing here. And I noticed that I need to add some hellos here. So like this it looks super dope. You can also animate everything, so using alpha channels opens up a lot of options. 41. Keyboard customization presets. In the keyboard customization you can change shortcuts or assign multiple shortcuts to one function. Whatever you set your functions on, you can save them as a preset. If you gave them a name like dr_tutorial, you will find it back in the list. There's also an option to export, in case you want to share your shortcuts with others, and then you can import it with this tool. 42. Lock video tracks. Everything on this track and this track is locked with this icon. Everything on the left of this edit is ready, and to make sure that nothing shifts, I place this on a higher locked track. So if I select this for example and I edit it, everything on the locked tracks will stay intact. 43. Audio panning sound. In the shot on the left is a train, and with headphones or stereo speakers you hear this train on the left. This is a mono track, so you can change track type to mono if you want to be sure. Here in the levels you can see that you hear it for around 1/4 in the right ear as well. And that is because here in audio panning you can see that it's set to -75 to the left. Standard is on 0, which means that both ears are equal. If something is on the left of your ear, you hear it for around 25% in your right ear as well. So to make it sound natural, -75 is perfect. 44. Fix audio only in one ear. Let's copy the sound here to a new project. If you play it now, it can happen that audio is in only one ear.
Shit!
So to fix audio in only one ear, you just need to make the track mono. This copies the information to the other ear as well, and gives it an equal volume.
Shit!
45. Use an external drive or SSD if your computer runs out of space. Okay, so here you can see my space that is left for my documents on my computer, and that is not so much. Luckily there exists external hardware where you can store files on, that you can connect to your computer. There are two types, an external drive and an SSD. I use both, I link them in the video description. For example, this is my SSD with a lot of files on it. In this folder there is some video footage, so I can just insert them and start editing from my external hardware. For an external drive, it works the same. I'll show you the difference between both. An important difference is that an SSD is faster. For example, in an external drive, I sometimes have the issue that it loses connection while editing. But this happens very rarely, and you just need to plug your USB cable out and in when this happens. Then you can reconnect via this tool if it doesn't automatically find them back. The most important difference is the price. An SSD is a little bit more expensive because of the advantages. But I use both, and apart from losing connection with my external drive sometimes, which isn't a big problem, I never experienced any problems. 46. Export frame for a thumbnail. Let's say that you have a frame in your video that you want to use for a thumbnail. You can export a PNG of a frame, and I'll show you how. So go to the color grading page. Right click on the preview window, grab still, enable gallery, and here right click export. Now you can export it as a PNG, a JPEG, or something else. 47. Export presets. You can make presets of your export settings. For example, let's say that you always check these two and use all these settings. Then you can click Save as new preset. You can give it a name. And now it is here between all your other presets. 48. H.264 versus H.265. I want to talk about these two because when I started video editing, I didn't know which one to choose for exporting. Here's a table between the main differences. In fact, H.265 is just a newer version of H.264. The latest version gives the absolute best quality, and it can even export to 8K and beyond. Exporting to H.265 takes longer to export and is more demanding to play. But I have to be honest, I have an old computer and sometimes I use my exports as footage for my tutorials, so that's the reason that I almost always choose H.264. Also, for example, when you have glitches in your video export with one of the two codecs, you can always try the other one, and mostly the problem is solved then. 49. Adjustment clips for color grading and position. I have here an edit. Let's say that I want to make everything black and white. What you can do then is use an adjustment clip or adjustment layer. The name depends on your editing software, so search for it and drag it to the timeline, on top of all the clips. Stretch it out so that it covers everything. And now in the color grading you can see the adjustment clip here. If you drag the saturation down on this clip, then all clips will be black and white. Whatever that you adjust on the adjustment clip, it will be applied to all clips. For some editing software, adjustment clips only work for color grading. But in DaVinci Resolve you can use the adjustment clip as well for tools in the inspector, like zoom or position. So everything that is underneath the adjustment clip will undergo the effects of the adjustment clip. 50. J-cut and L-cut in audio. I don't know if you noticed, but in this video I sometimes introduce the next tip already before the screen recording of the previous one is over. This is called a J-cut, because of the shape of the cut. And this makes the switch to another effect more logic. Also sometimes I let the audio linger while showing the next tip already in the screen. This is called an L-cut. So when a new scene arrives, you can still make the video or audio linger a little bit without any problem. Also, if you like to start video shooting and you're doubting which camera or gear to get, I leave some products in the video description.